Holy, this keyboard is bright. And it only costs $70. This is the LTC Neon 75. A 75% keyboard from LTC that is budget friendly and looks amazing. So let's dig a bit deeper into this keyboard. So as I was saying, this is a 75% keyboard that you can get on Amazon for $70 US. Or on LTC's website right now, it is only $60 US, but you can also use my code and link in the description to get 10% off on Amazon as well. The Neon is made of a fully plastic case, which allows the nice RGB lights to shine through. It can be used wirelessly with Bluetooth 5.0 with up to 3 devices, or using the 2.4 GHz dongle. It comes with these PBT pudding keycaps that add to the extremely nice looking RGB lighting on this board. Out of the box, you get the user manual, USB-C to USB cable that you can also make into a USB-C to USB-C cable, a keycap and switch puller all in one, the 2.4 GHz dongle, and of course the keyboard itself. With the keyboard being made out of plastic, you would think that the build quality wouldn't be great, but it still feels pretty high quality. It does, however, still feel pretty light. Some people have complained about the keyboard sitting a bit too high for them, so that could be an issue for you as well, although I don't personally feel like it's that tall, but there is no height adjustable feet to adjust the angle if it is a problem for you. The PBT pudding keycaps are very high quality and are comparable to the HyperX pudding keycaps that I have tried before. Unlike regular keycaps, they let the RGB shine through the sides of the keycaps also, and while the RGB is bright, it's not anything special. These keycaps that come with the keyboard make it look way brighter than every other keyboard that I have tried out of the box. You can control the RGB with functions on the keyboard with shortcuts pretty easily, or they do have a software which is pretty basic but allows you to change the key functions of every key, set macros, and go a little more in depth in changing the RGB underneath the keys or the side of the keyboard. Speaking of the RGB on the side of the keyboard, it is nowhere near as bright as the RGBs under the keycaps, which is understandable because it does have to shine through a thicker layer of plastic, and it doesn't cover the entire side of the keyboard, but it is still more RGB that is included, which is pretty nice. For the switches, it uses these Jersey red switches, which are kind of a knockoff cherry red switch that do a pretty good job of imitating them, as they feel pretty smooth and the average person wouldn't be able to tell the difference between them, including me. And of course, you can always replace them later on if you don't like them, because this keyboard is hot swappable with 3 or 5 pin switches. The stabilizers are also not too bad considering this is supposed to be more of a budget keyboard, but you can hear it for yourself. Some of the cons for this keyboard are, there is no storage for the USB dongle, so you can find yourself misplacing and losing it pretty easily. Some other keyboards I have tried have put a cutout on the keyboard itself, so you can just place it there when you're not using it, so you don't lose it. And there's also no height adjustable feet, so if you really need that in a keyboard, this one does not have it. I don't find myself using that too often, as the angle on this keyboard is perfectly fine for me, but it might be an issue for some people out there. I have seen reports of bad quality control and people receiving keyboards that don't work properly, like the Rgbs are really dim, or the keyboard just doesn't work at all, and stuff like that. But since you can buy it through Amazon, which I would recommend, the returns are really easily done, so that does kind of help a bit. And the side RGBs aren't great and not as bright as the underkey RGB, which is understandable. But the plus side is that you do have a little bit of extra RGB if you're really into that. Now on to the pros. It has really good build quality for the price, as it's under $70 and it feels like it should be worth about $100 with how good it looks and how well built it is. It's also wireless with Bluetooth 5.0 up to 3 devices and 2.4 GHz, and it's supposed to last about 500 hours on wireless without RGB and about only 25 hours with it on. So if you want it to last quite a long time, I would recommend keeping the RGB off, but you would probably want the RGB on if you buy this keyboard. So 25 hours isn't great, but it's still long enough. It could be used with Mac or Windows depending on which OS you are using. It's hot swappable with 3 or 5 pin switches, so you can change the switches out pretty easily on them. And something I've actually not seen on many keyboards, if any, is it comes with PBT put-in keycaps, which are great for the RGB lighting. If you are someone looking for a keyboard with excellent RGB, I would highly recommend this keyboard for the price, especially if you use my code and link in the description and get that extra 10% off. It also helps me out quite a bit if you use that link in the description. Be sure to check out this video for another option if you aren't quite sold on the LTC Neon 75.